You've been told your whole life that conspiracy theorists are crazy, paranoid, tinfoil hat, living in their mom's basement, screaming about lizard people and flat Earth, and the moon landing being filmed in a studio. And look, most of the time, that's fair. Most conspiracy theories are nonsense. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Some of them weren't. Some of the most unhinged, "You need help. Please stop talking at Thanksgiving." Theories turned out to be completely, documentably, confirmed by the government real. Not kinda real, not, well, if you squint. Full declassified files, congressional hearings, official apologies real. And the reason you don't know about most of them isn't because the evidence was hidden. It's because once something gets confirmed, it stops being a conspiracy theory and becomes history. It quietly slides out of the crazy pile and into a textbook footnote nobody reads. So today we're dragging them back out. Hold on though, because we're going through every major conspiracy theory that the government, corporations, or institutions told you was insane. That turned out to be completely true. And by the end of this, you're going to feel two things. Vindicated, because humans are actually pretty good at sensing when something is wrong, and deeply unsettled. Because if these were real, the question you have to ask yourself is, what are we currently calling crazy that isn't? Let's go. Let's start with the one that sounds the most insane. For decades, people said the CIA was running mind control experiments on unwitting American citizens, dosing people with LSD without their knowledge, running psychological torture programs in hospitals and prisons, trying to build a real-life Manchurian candidate. Obviously crazy, right? Yeah, about that. MKUltra was a real CIA program that ran from 1953 to 1973, 20 years, not a weekend project. The CIA dosed mental patients, prisoners, drug addicts, and sex workers with LSD, barbiturates, and mescaline, without telling them what was happening. They paid prostitutes to lure men to CIA safe houses in New York and San Francisco, where agents would spike their drinks and observe them through one-way mirrors. One of the program's victims, Frank Olson, was a CIA scientist who apparently became disturbed by what he witnessed during the program. 9 days after being secretly dosed with LSD, he fell from a New York hotel room. For decades, it was ruled a suicide. His family disputes that to this day. The program was only exposed in 1975, not because someone heroically blew the whistle, but because the CIA forgot to destroy a batch of documents before shredding everything else. A FOIA request pulled them back out. Richard Helms, the CIA director at the time, ordered almost all MKUltra files destroyed in 1973. He almost succeeded. In 1977, a Senate hearing confirmed the program existed. The CIA admitted to experimenting on at least 150 human subjects. The real number is almost certainly higher because most of the records are gone. People said the government was running secret mind control experiments on civilians. They were right. Here's one that's been in the movies so many times it almost feels like fiction. For decades, the tobacco industry swore up and down that cigarettes had no proven link to cancer. They ran ads featuring doctors. They funded their own research. They hired scientists to publicly debate the evidence. They told anyone who said otherwise that they were fear-mongering and anti-science. In 1953, a secret meeting was held at the Plaza Hotel in New York. The CEOs of the 7 largest American tobacco companies sat down together and agreed on a coordinated strategy to suppress and discredit research linking smoking to cancer. This became known as the tobacco strategy. By 1969, Brown and Williamson's own internal documents stated, and I'm quoting directly, "Doubt is our product, since it is the best means of competing with the body of fact that exists in the mind of the general public." They knew. They had internal research confirming the link. They buried it, manufactured scientific uncertainty, and kept selling to hundreds of millions of people for another 30 years. The documents only became public in 1994 when a whistleblower leaked them. The full scale of what the industry knew was confirmed in a 1998 legal settlement, where tobacco companies paid $246 billion to U.S. states. They also agreed to stop marketing to children, which implicitly confirmed they had been doing exactly that. People said Big Tobacco knew cigarettes were deadly and was lying about it. They were right. This one was crazy as recently as 2012. For years, privacy advocates and tech journalists said the US government had built a system for mass surveillance of American citizens, that the NSA was hoovering up phone metadata, emails, text messages, that it had secret legal agreements with the biggest tech companies in the world. People who said this out loud were called paranoid. They were told the government didn't have the capacity or the legal authority for something like that these were fantasies cooked up by anti-government types who watched too many spy movies. Then in June 2013, Edward Snowden leaked a tranche of classified NSA documents to The Guardian and The Washington Post. PRISM was real. The NSA had secret agreements with Microsoft, Google, Apple, Yahoo, Facebook, and others to access user data directly from their servers. The program had been running since 2007. Xkeyscore was real, a system that allowed analysts to search through vast databases of internet activity, emails, browsing history, searches, with no prior authorization. The bulk collection of American phone records was real. The NSA was collecting the metadata of essentially every phone call made in the United States under a secret interpretation of the Patriot Act. In 2020, a federal appeals court ruled that the NSA phone surveillance program was illegal. The surveillance apparatus that people had been calling a conspiracy theory for a decade was confirmed, documented, and eventually ruled unconstitutional. People said the government was secretly surveilling everyone. They were right. Here's one with world-changing consequences. In August 1964, President Lyndon Johnson went on national television and told Americans that North Vietnamese torpedo boats had attacked U.S. Navy vessels in the Gulf of Tonkin, not once, but twice. Unprovoked acts of aggression on the high seas. Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, giving Johnson essentially unlimited authority to escalate military operations in Vietnam. No formal declaration of war, just a blank check based on two incidents. The first incident, on August 2nd, did happen, though the context is disputed. The second incident, the one that actually triggered escalation, never happened. The USS Maddox reported that it was under attack on the night of August 4th. Sailors reported seeing torpedo wakes and gunfire, but the attack was almost certainly a false alarm, the result of bad weather, equipment malfunctions, and nervous crews. The commander of the task force sent a message hours later saying, and I'm quoting, "Review of action makes many reported contacts and torpedoes fired appear doubtful." That message was intercepted by the NSA, which mistranslated it to suggest a real attack had occurred. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara presented the fabricated attack to Congress anyway. Over 58,000 Americans and an estimated 2 to 3 million Vietnamese died in the war that followed. In 2005, classified NSA documents were released confirming that the second Gulf of Tonkin incident never happened, and that NSA analysts had knowingly altered intelligence reports to support the official narrative. People said the Gulf of Tonkin was a lie used to start a war. They were right. This one is one of the most documented and disturbing on the list. The Tuskegee syphilis study began in 1932 in Macon County, Alabama. The U.S. Public Health Service enrolled 399 black men who had syphilis and 201 who didn't. The men were told they were receiving treatment for bad blood, a local term for various ailments. They were not receiving treatment. The study was designed to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis. The men were given placebos, ineffective treatments, and aspirin, but not actual care. When penicillin became the standard treatment for syphilis in 1947, the researchers didn't offer it to the participants. The study ran for 40 years. It only ended in 1972 when a whistleblower named Peter Buxton leaked the details to a journalist. The story ran on the front page of the New York Times. By that point, 128 participants had died of syphilis or its complications. 40 wives had been infected. 19 children had been born with congenital syphilis. In 1997, President Clinton formally apologized on behalf of the U.S. government. People said the government had run secret medical experiments on black citizens without their consent. They were right. This one reads like something a screenwriter would reject for being too on the nose. COINTELPRO, short for Counterintelligence Program, was an FBI program that ran from 1956 to 1971. Its stated goal was to surveil, infiltrate, discredit, and disrupt domestic political organizations. We're not talking about actual criminals. We're talking about civil rights leaders, socialist groups, anti-war activists, and feminist organizations. The FBI placed informants inside these groups. Agents sent anonymous letters designed to create paranoia and infighting. They forged documents to make leaders appear to be FBI informants. The FBI sent Martin Luther King Jr. an anonymous letter in 1964. The letter, which was confirmed as an FBI communication in declassified documents, called King a filthy, abnormal animal and strongly implied he should kill himself to avoid public disgrace. The letter was sent alongside audio recordings of what the FBI claimed were King's extramarital affairs. The program was exposed in 1971 when activists broke into an FBI field office in Media, Pennsylvania, and stole files. They mailed them to journalists. The FBI had no idea how the documents got out for years, because nobody suspected ordinary citizens of just walking in and taking them. Congress officially confirmed COINTELPRO's existence in 1976 through the Church Committee. People said the FBI was running a secret program to destroy civil rights leaders. They were right. Here's one that sounds like the villain's origin story in a Marvel movie. After World War II ended, the United States government had a problem. Nazi Germany had been running the most advanced rocket and weapons research program in the world, and the Soviets were moving fast to claim it, so the US made a decision. They secretly recruited over 1,600 Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians. They gave them new identities. They brought them to America. They wiped their records. The program was called Operation Paperclip. The name came from the literal paperclips that agents used to attach sanitized personnel files to the scientists' recruitment dossiers, removing evidence of war crimes before submitting them for security clearance. Because most of these men were not just scientists, many had used concentration camp labor. Some had personally supervised the use of slave workers in rocket factories where thousands died. The most famous recruit was Wernher von Braun. Von Braun was a member of the SS. His V-2 rockets had killed thousands of civilians in London and Antwerp. His Middelburg factory used forced laborers from the Dora concentration camp. An estimated 20,000 people died building those rockets. After Operation Paperclip, von Braun became the chief rocket engineer for NASA. He designed the Saturn V rocket that put humans on the moon. The program was classified for decades. When journalists and historians asked about it, the government denied it. The full scope was only released under FOIA requests in the 1980s and 1990s. People said the US government secretly recruited Nazi war criminals and gave them new lives in America. They were right. Here's one that explains a lot of modern history once you know it. In 1953, Iran had a democratically elected prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh. He was wildly popular. He was also a problem, because Mossadegh had just nationalized Iran's oil industry, taking the oil fields back from the British company that had been pumping Iranian oil for decades and keeping the vast majority of profits. Britain called it communism. They called on America for help. The CIA called the operation TPA-JAX. Britain's MI6 called it Operation Boot. They hired street gangs to start riots. They bribed military officers. They flooded Iranian newspapers with anti-Mossadish propaganda. They staged fake attacks and blamed them on his supporters. They made him look like a communist, threatening the free world. Within days, the elected government was gone. Mossadegh was arrested, tried for treason, and spent the rest of his life under house arrest. The Shah was reinstalled. He ruled Iran as an authoritarian for the next 26 years, running a secret police force notorious for torture. When the Iranian Revolution finally came in 1979, one of its central grievances was what America had done in 1953. U.S.-Iran relations today, the sanctions, the hostility, the nuclear standoff, trace a straight line back to that decision. The U.S. government denied any involvement in the coup for 60 years. In 2013, the CIA released declassified documents that confirmed they had planned and executed it. The documents used the phrase "our action" when describing the coup, not an action. Our action. People said the CIA overthrew Iran's democracy to protect oil interests. They were right. We've done this one before, with tobacco. But the fossil fuel version is arguably bigger. In 1977, a senior scientist at Exxon named James Black delivered an internal presentation to the company's management committee. His conclusion was that there was general scientific agreement that burning fossil fuels would increase CO2 in the atmosphere and cause global warming. He predicted the consequences with accuracy that would hold up today. Exxon didn't publish the research. Instead, through the 1980s and 1990s, Exxon and other oil companies funded organizations specifically designed to manufacture doubt about climate science. They recruited scientists to dispute the consensus. They funded think tanks that produced studies raising questions about the evidence. They lobbied against emissions regulations. The strategy was almost word for word identical to the tobacco playbook, which makes sense because some of the same PR firms were involved. Internal documents obtained by investigative journalists in 2015 showed that Exxon's own scientists had accurately predicted global warming decades before the company was publicly disputing whether it was real. Congressional investigations in 2019 and 2021 subpoenaed executives from major oil companies to testify about what they knew and when. Most denied wrongdoing. The documents told a different story. People said fossil fuel companies knew about climate change and ran a decades-long disinformation campaign to stop action. They were right. So here's where we land. MK Ultra, real. The Tuskegee experiments, real. The Gulf of Tonkin fabrication, real. Big tobacco, real. Mass NSA surveillance, real. COINTELPRO, real. Operation Paperclip, real. The Iranian Coup, real. Exxon and Climate, real. Every single one of these was called a conspiracy theory before it was confirmed. And the uncomfortable truth is that none of them were uncovered by intelligence agencies turning on themselves. They were uncovered by whistleblowers, leaked documents, journalists, and in at least one case, people literally breaking into a building. The institutions didn't police themselves. External pressure did. So, what does that mean for today? I'm not telling you to believe everything you read on a subreddit. Most conspiracy theories really are nonsense. But maybe the blanket dismissal of "that's just a conspiracy theory" does something dangerous. It uses the word to describe both the moon is made of cheese and the government is experimenting on people without consent. And lumping those two things together makes it very easy for the second category to keep happening. The pattern isn't that hard to spot once you see it. A group with power doing something they know is wrong, an incentive to deny it, a public taught to mock people who ask questions, and a truth that only comes out decades later when the documents are finally declassified. Every generation thinks they're the one that's finally too sophisticated to be fooled. They usually aren't. Hold on though, if this one got you, and I think it should have, I've got two more right here that will make you question basically everything you thought you knew. Subscribe if you want to keep being uncomfortably right about things. See you in the next one.